Now we'll look at creating a new instance of the slideshow view class in the slideshow document class and connecting that instance with a model. So in the slideshow document class, right below importing slideshow model, I'm going to import mvc.slideshowView. Now I'll need to create a property to represent the view. So I'll create a new public property in the property section called SlideView and data type it to a slideshow view. Right above where I define the slideshow model, in the constructor, I'm going to give a value to the slideshow view. So slide_view equals new slideshow view. Remember that in the constructor we need to pass in the container, and that is container_MC from the main timeline of our FLA file. So if I select it here in the FLA, you can see that it's container_MC. Back to slideshow document. Before I load the data file in slideModel.load, I'm going to go right above that, set the model property of the slide view. So SlideView.model, remember that's a property defined in our view class. So the view has a public property called model, and when we set that value, it automatically listens for the model change event. So I'm going to set that equal to SlideModel, and that's all there is to making this file work. So we've created a new slideshow view and connected it to a model using its model property. To test if everything's working properly, I'm going to save this file. So File Save, go over to the slideshow view class file. Then I'm going to put a trace statement in its update method. Remember, the update method executes whenever the model is updated. So I'm going to trace model updated in quotes. Save the file. File Save. Go to the FLA file. If it's working properly, we'll see the model updated message. If not, we'll get an error. So test the movie, and sadly we have an error. I'm going to close the preview window. Let's take a look at the error. It says implicit coercion of a value of static type flash_display.displayObject to a possibly underrelated type flash.display.shape. Just as a tip, if you get a whole bunch of error messages when you test the movie, typically solving the first error will fix everything else. So I'm just going to double click that first error and Flash will take me to the code that's breaking the rules. So it takes me to bg equals container.getChild@0. Now, something very important and an error message that you may run into frequently. That's why I'm talking about it here. When you set a value that is not a display object, so bg is a shape, equal to the return value from getChild@, then you're going to run into a problem. The getChild@. Method is a display object. So container runs that method and returns a display object. So basically we're saying a shape equals a display object. That's where the error comes in. However, we know that the child@0 is in fact a shape. So really, this code isn't a big mistake because we know what we're doing. Flash is just confused because of the data type returned from getChild@. All you need to do is tell Flash what type of data to treat the display object as. So I know that the child@0 is a shape. So I just have to tell Flash to treat that as a shape. So if I type shape with a capital S right before container.getChild@0 and wrap that all in parentheses, then everything is going to work properly. So all we're doing is saying, hey Flash, treat this data as a shape. It's not going to change the data, it just tells Flash a different way to treat it. So let's save the file again. You can actually test right from this class file. So if you don't see any errors, that's great. Close the preview window and you see model updated. So now we've successfully connected the model to our slideshow view class. And we fixed an error by what's called typecasting. So if you're ever trying to get code that returns a display object and set it as something else, like a shape or a movie clip or whatever data type, you can tell Flash to treat it as whatever data type you want by typing the name of that data type, which in this case is shape, and passing that data into parentheses.